Hi, it's Caron from EVP Queens. This is the third and final part of a track from an Echo Vox session at the projection room at the Tivoli Theatre in Buckley. I've been provided very kindly with some notes by Terry Wilcox, so thank you, Terry, for this. Having been given these notes, I think it's quite important to share some of the background with you, and I think it's especially important as my work was inadvertently insulted, as EVP can't stand up against documented evidence. Apparently, any documents, even official reports and records, all depends on honest people giving honest accounts. And in circumstances like this, it really does come down to the witnesses, whether they're telling the truth and whether they've recollected the facts correctly. So what I hope to do is listen to my EVPs and cross-reference them with any information that I have. And I have previously actively gone to validate my EVPs. So the unfortunate day was May the 20th, 1945, when the Tivoli suffered the fire. And you may notice I am choosing my words very carefully. Tragically, Harry Goldrich lost his life in that fire. He was only 39. An attempt was made by Sergeant Ben Williams to save him, but it was too late. He'd already passed away in the projection room. Of course, this is according to the records that I've been provided with. In those same records, it states that Harry had sustained bruising around the head and he had burns on his right forearm and his hands. What isn't clear from this information is how the fire started. Following the fire, the fuse box and all the electrics were checked out in the projection room and found to be without any fault. However, from the documents that I've been provided with, it would seem that the fire was started elsewhere. It does say that a room opposite the projection room seemed to be engulfed in flames and there was falling wood, so it was quite fierce on that side of the corridor. The projection room was opposite this door. What sends a red flag up for me in this particular account is that the equipment in the projection room was retrievable, so it can't have sustained that much fire damage to it. Why did Harry not have time to leave the building, and how did he sustain the bruising? These are just questions I have at this moment in time based on these notes that Terry's provided me with. So now I'm going to go into the track, and I do hope that you will help me unravel this, because there is a message in it. Tracy, one of our friends who was with us on the evening, asks how the fire started, and this was the response.
Do you know who started the fire?
You may agree with me on this bit. I think it does say, you did it, and then a different voice says him, and then the original voice goes back to saying, not Philip, and that name has come up an awful lot. If you've heard the previous tracks, you'll know that. In this next bit I hear Sir John, but the bits that come after I'm not 100% sure on, so on that basis I'm not going to give you my opinion, but I would greatly appreciate what you hear. It does conclude with what I believe is killed him, which of course will cause some controversy among some people. I'm going to stick my neck out and say, could it possibly be Sir John was there at the time? And I think you'll agree with me. He says bad boy, and then we ask Harry if he's still there. His reply is, I've been here, talk to me.
Can you give me your name? Is Harry still there?
Up there. Talk to me. Up there. Talk to me. Up there. Talk to me.
We ask the same question again, just phrased a little differently. The first response, I think, is somebody being sarcastic, really. Big bad boy is what we got through the Echo Vox. But then we got an EVP direct onto the recorder. I'm in two minds. Originally, I was quite certain it was Nigel. Each time I listen to it, I get a variation on it. So I'm between Nigel and Matt Young, possibly. Obviously, it's subjective, and it is only my opinion.
Do you know what started the fire at the theatre?
That's the barman, is what I hear now. Was there still a bar when it was operating as a cinema? Perhaps somebody has the answer to that. Again, with this next bit, it's a direct EVP onto the recorder. I'm not 100% sure. I do have an opinion, but because of my uncertainty, I'm reluctant to share it. I really need your help with this one, because I know that they are trying to tell us something. And again, I need your help with this one. This is through the echo box. And yet another response direct onto the recorder. I believe it's one of two things, having listened to it over and over and over and tried every effect on it possible to try and make it clearer. I think a few were there, or I think you were there. EVP from the stereo recorder is brilliant through the earphones, but once you get it onto the computer it is a different matter, and then you do lose some quality once you convert the file. I'm not going to get all technical. The name Philip is definitely in this next bit, but is he giving me a second name with it? I've gone over and over and over this one. What this EVP does say is, my son's the man that did it. Again, through the earphones it's really clear, but conveying this to you now on the computer and try and get it to a good, clear level is very difficult. But I am 99% sure that that is what is being said here. Because I think this EVP is such an important one, I've applied some noise reduction to it. I don't very often share EVPs which have this effect on it because it does make it very strange to the ear, although I do use it when I'm reviewing my EVPs because it really does help me pick out the words if they aren't very clear to me. Then at the end of that bit is another EVP direct onto the recorder, and it either says Andy or I did.
What started the fire, Harry?
We don't always hear the answers in real time, so we ask again, what started the fire? I don't think I need to tell you what the reply was. I think you'll hear it clearly for yourself. But they do say something else, and I don't know whether it's Bishop or they're actually saying something else. But it does sound like bitumen to me. And here's the name Philip again. Not sure what the message is though. This is another EVP direct onto the recorder. At first I thought he was swearing, but actually I think he may be saying thank you. You might have some idea why it's taken me so long to review this track. Here's another EVP direct to the recorder. It's a female voice saying find out. Back to the Echo Vox now. I did help him, I think. And now I'm back to asking for your help. I can hear Bishop, but I can't be 100% sure about the rest of it. Please help me. It's another EVP direct into the recorder. Are we being told to look in the mirror, or are we being told that something or somebody is stuck in a mirror? This has been one of the hardest tracks I've ever reviewed to date, but it's also been like reading a book as I'm going through it and hearing all this information. And when Spirit go to the trouble of communicating with you, I don't want to miss a word basically. I have got some more tracks to share with you, which are EVP's direct to the recorder, and they are amazing, but I'm going to have to try and stick to just doing the best bits, and that's really hard for me, in case you hadn't noticed. Anyway, thank you so much for your support. I've had some lovely feedback. I just want to reiterate, I have said this before, I don't do this for anybody but myself, but if in sharing these tracks, I bring some comfort and reassurance to people, then it's all worthwhile. If you've been able to catch anything that I've missed on these recordings, please come over to the EVP Queens page and leave your feedback on there. I'd be really grateful for that. If you fancy joining us on any of our future investigations, just get in touch. You'll be made more than welcome, and you may have realised we do go about things a little bit differently to a lot of groups. We are going back to the Tivoli in March. And if you can't make that, have a look on Tivoli Hauntings Facebook page, and there's lots of events posted on there. Thank you so much for your support.